was because someone told me, hey, yeah, Technoblade's a hero in that. And my brain immediately went, that's so out of character.
No, he's not.
Then who told me that?
No, he's not.
Why?
Chaos. For the audience who doesn't know, and for you, Tommy and its clinic for supervillains is that the Syndicate, they are supervillains.
Then what fanfiction got popular? No. Am I thinking of a different one then?
Have you been putting your ire on the wrong fic?
It could totally be possible. Sing to me, Terpsichore, muse of dance, of the heroes and villains, and the bleeding heart beneath the arrows. Sing of the valiant souls, which made themselves spoils for every dog and bird, and how they came to the clinic with the red sleeve. Welcome to FanDive. My name is Chaos.
My name is Andy.
And today we are finally talking about superhero AUs.
Woo! It's really popular.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where I'm like, this is not a piece of fandom that I super lean towards, but everyone knows it. It's impossible to avoid.
Yeah, because think about fandoms in general and where they came from. Go back 100 years, guarantee you're gonna find some superhero stories. And so this very popular version of Tales getting used in modern day is not that weird of a concept.
Superman is not 100 years ago.
Superheroes, although they may have been referred to slightly differently, came before Superman.
Concept of vigilantes do predate superheroes. It's too early to get off on the tangent of what defines a superhero, but
okay, here's the thing. You're thinking of comic books and stuff.
Of course I am.
I'm not. Think about Heracles.
Okay, that's just called being a hero. And I'm gonna be so real. Yeah. Heracles' definition of hero is so not what we call modern day definition of hero. But I understand what you're talking about.
In the concept of humanity as a whole, the concept of a hero who has abilities beyond others and uses it to help is one of the earliest concepts, and therefore it makes sense that it's so prevalent in fandom culture, even in things that are unrelated to comic books and stuff. Because it's such a natural human storytelling idea. That's my point. That was my point.
Well, before we get into what a superhero AU is, I guess we need a quick history of fandom. So, fandomness has always kind of been around, but the first proper, idea of a fandom really started to come about with Sherlock, and then ultimately what we view as modern day fandom culture started to develop with Star Trek. And then comic books started to get involved, and that's where nerddom came to, and how we modern day perception of superheroes and all that jazz. And superhero AUs, they kind of always existed, but then My Hero Academia came onto the scene, and everyone went, that's a school AU with a superhero AU with an underdog story, perfection, right? Mm-hmm. And then we get to our little corner of the internet, MCYT. And we meet Tommy in it. Prime bait for a superhero AU.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, we are not the only fandom, but he is prime bait of what you require. Because I think the prime bait is a Peter Parker setup. With if they got a dead relative and are in a poor situation.
You need an underdog story to develop a proper superhero AU, because otherwise it doesn't have the modern day heart of a superhero. And so many ancient hero stories that we see looking back in time, when they've been adapted to the modern day, they have been changed to give us an underdog story. See Disney Hercules, see BBC Merlin, all of these things set up very powerful characters and go, wait a minute, they actually had a really hard time getting there.
I'm gonna say this. Kind of a gripe about Superman. I feel especially in the early days, some lazy writing.
Okay, well, let's remember the context they were writing in. This was a group of Jewish authors who were writing a story about someone who would come and save them. It was a Moses allegory, start to finish. And so it was this idea of like someone who came from somewhere else, entering into a land that they are not familiar with, and realizing that this is not where they're from, but their duty is with the people who they promised to protect. That was the original idea behind superheroes. And then, of course, it very quickly got wrapped up into war propaganda, and the conversation about where we stand as a community was very quickly tied into where do we stand as a nation, and thus leads into the tangent. We can cover that when we talk about superhero in comic books.
Chaos, calm down. I meant more like his name is Superman and Smallville and Metropolis and like the things that
so it's very basic now because there was nothing else before him.
Smallville.
Well, there's literally a place called like Boring, Oregon, all right? And people aren't the most creative when it comes to names.
Okay, well, I will say that's like a few million towns named after lakes, but my point stands. I will amend, I don't actually hate his like origin story. I enjoyed comics growing up. However, I always just had to pause at the names of everything. Everything just... We got better with time.
They had to make it accessible to someone picking up a comic strip for the first time with zero context. Where is this guy from? Doesn't matter. Not many people. Where is he now? Doesn't matter. There's a lot of people. But we are talking about superhero AUs. We can't get this distracted. It's been like 5 minutes. I
think we can talk about superheroes all we want. Yes, we're talking about AUs, but like superheroes. We're allowed to talk about superheroes and their origins in the Superhero AU episode.
So that's how, though, did superheroes get brought into Minecraft?
Well, I think
once upon a time. I mean, there's been others beforehand. Obviously, we talked about My Hero Academia. There was inevitably crossovers. But once upon a time, one person went, but I have an idea. And thus...
Yeah, and it got absurdly popular.
And thus we were granted Tommy in its clinic for something. I'm going to be so real. I haven't actually read it.
Tommy in its clinic for supervillains by Bones and the Bees.
Yes. So this really is what kicked off the MCYT Superhero AU craze, to the point where if you read almost any Dream SMP Superhero AU, they all used very similar names or very similar powers to Tommy in its clinic fanfiction. Like, it was, this is a fanfiction of this fanfiction kind of fanfiction.
I kind of disagree. I agree that a lot of them were inspired by that, but I think you got to give the fandom a bit more credit that there is diversity in the story out there.
Obviously.
Just not.
I mean, I will sing to high heaven Ponk's Superhero AU because I love Drop by Ponks, and I found that one very unique and very interesting. But at the same time, when every single fanfiction has the same superhero names, I'm like, okay, let's spice it up. But I've talked about that superhero AUs aren't really for me. So, I'll be wrong here.
Yeah, so I do enjoy superhero AUs more than you do, obviously. And I respectfully disagree that there is more variety out there than you give it credit for. But also, yeah, there are far too many that all decided, you know what, this is great inspiration, and didn't... You know the thing of, like, copying a person's homework but just change it a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You gotta change it a little bit more, buddy. Just at least change a couple more of the names. I just had like an obscure memory and I have no idea which story it's from. But I'm pretty sure it's a superhero AU. It might have been Tommy in its clinic, but I don't know. Chaos, pull your thing. To say a random statement as I grab my quote book.
I've been left with too much power. Okay. My Hero Academia was... I'm panicking, Andy.
Oh my gosh.
I'm panicking. I was
I'm trying. to talk about that sometime.
I
Anyway,
got it. Okay, so the actual reason why I'm like really not interested in reading, or I never was interested in reading Tommy and its Clinic for supervillains, was because someone told me, hey, yeah, Technoblade's a hero in that. And my brain immediately went, that's so out of character.
no, he's not.
Then who told me that?
No, he's not.
Why?
Chaos. For the audience who doesn't know, and for you, Tommy and its Clinic for supervillains is that the Syndicate, they are supervillains.
Then what
And are
fanfiction
getting
got
healed by
popular?
Tommy.
No. Am I thinking of a different one then?
Have you been putting your ire on the wrong fic?
It could totally be possible. There's a fan fiction where it kind of ended with it was all a dream and Tommy was dying all along, and Technoblade was a hero in that one. And I have forever held beef about any fan fiction that makes Technoblade a hero.
He plays a good guy to Tommy in the way that he would murder anybody for Tommy.
That's not the same thing.
But he is sadly not
What
a
am
hero.
I thinking of then? My beef has been with the wrong fan fiction. I am so sorry. There is another fan fiction out there that I hold so much unnecessary ire against, but it's not Tommy and its Clinic.
You have been doing it wrong. Anyway, I didn't find it in my quote book, but also I had to scroll quickly because this has been going on for 5 years from fan fictions I read. Anyway, I think about the different things. It's more the focus to me of those stories that changes most frequently. Because sometimes they'll make it so that Technoblade is a hero, specifically so that we can fight him if we're on the other side. Where they'll switch those things around in order to change the plot. Like, superhero power for Tubbo. What do you think? What do you think if it's so universal?
It will either be explosions or he is secretly a big swarm of bees in a trench coat. Sometimes both.
Okay, so I have never seen that second one, and now you need to find that for me.
Honestly, that second one might be an Aljacora fanfiction I read at one point, because I think Ranbu was in a hollow corpse in that one.
Oh.
I should go back and read my Aljacora fanfiction. I really like Aljacora. That's where I sit in this give everyone powers moment.
Anyway, I want to move on from it because I want to talk about Hot Guy.
The actual reason we're here is Hermitcraft. And now,
that's our current stuff.
If you weren't paying attention to the opening poem, I referenced Bleeding Heart, which may or may not be a reference to a really cool SuperHero AU comic on Tumblr, and it has Mr. Hot Guy in it, and a Grian, except the Grian is slowly being possessed by mycelium, yes?
Let's explain who Hot Guy is.
No.
Okay, I'm going to do the exposition now, okay? And you can sit. And then you can do we can continue with that. So Good Times of Scar would shout Hot Guy when shooting people, but the original superhero Hawkeye, known for his sharpshooting skills, amongst other things, but we're not getting into it.
He's
He
deaf.
would shout that, but instead of... Yes, he is. Scar is not, Hawkeye is. But Scar said it in such a way that it was Hot Guy, not Hawkeye. And so it became, he's the superhero that goes around shooting people, saying Hot Guy. And I think it got more popular during the season 9 of Hermitcraft King Ren arc. Because he did a whole entire video that was propaganda for Hot Guy.
Yes, so in season 9, Scar even had one of his shopping district builds be Hawkeye's headquarters, and there he, like, on the top of it had like a volleyball court, and that's where he recorded his audition to be with the king, of like, look at all these abs and muscles as I do volleyball in slow motion. And then when there was that big moment of like, let's try and overthrow the king, Scar's minigame setup that Grian and the rest of Resistance had to go through was basically like Grian and co trying to dodge Scar as he shoots arrows at them.
Yeah. So he I will say he did pretty much initiate this superhero stuff where he was like, yeah, hot guy, the superhero, he's so hot. And, and ironically enough, he gave Grian in the same season his own thing that Grian never fully acknowledged. Like, he sided everything.
So Grian said, I have a pretty powerful role. I can be hot guy's sidekick. Cute guy. And at one point Scar left like pink dyed leather armor at his base labeled like cute guy outfit, and that's kind of as far as it went. The fandom, however, took it and run.
Scar designed a skin for him.
Scar designed a skin for him at one point, and it had like very similar like colored tinted goggles or glasses over that face.
And so we got specifically those two, but they'll add in other people, change things, put things in for everyone on the server. But we got a large influx of superhero AUs in Hermitcraft, specifically about hot guy and cute guy going on adventures. And some people make it silly, and some people make it sad.
I just double-checked that Tumblr AU I was mentioning. It's actually called Double Hearted by Kitsune ECE or something. I'll link it down below in description or whatever. But it's really cute, and it's a cute little dynamic, and I love the costume designs. And also there's a reference to Mother Spore in there, which I'm always here for, you know.
I will say this is a topic we'll talk about later, as in a future episode. But my favorite thing with those superhero AUs is like dichotomy of convex Scar versus hot guy Scar, who's a superhero, who's a villain. Or I think there was one that I have no idea where it would be anymore, where he used to be a supervillain who was the Vex and then turned into a superhero, and is like, no, it's not the same.
It's not the same. These scars, I got them elsewhere. Yeah, we definitely are going to talk about Convex real soon. But the angsty potentials, like before Hot Guy introduced, the occasional superhero AU would bring up Convex. After Hot Guy, it was only Hot Guy.
Yeah. Technically, I'll still see it in the background, specifically if they're including Cub. But yeah, once Hot Guy came in, he kind of took over. People really like this character of his.
Well, he has his own TCG card now. Yeah, I think he's a bit popular.
There's a clip, and it's an awful clip, but it has made a lot of people laugh, of a dono sent to Scar of hot guy has made me question my lesbianism.
God, I remember that moment.
Scar's just defeat.
His sad little chuckle of like, oh no. Oh no.
His laugh as his head falls. Just, oh.
Yeah, should we talk about other people's place in the superhero AUs? Because it's not just Grian and Scar. Because obviously, if you bring up Scar, inevitably you're going to have to bring up Cub. And Cub still holds pretty heavily onto all those Vexy traits in the fandom.
It's true. Different segue, because I'm denying your segue. If you include the normal
segue
stuff, you have to include the Life series superhero AU stuff.
See, I don't get much into superhero AUs on Hermitcraft. I've literally never touched a superhero AU of the Life series.
Dude, what? No.
Yeah,
There's some good ones.
Well, send them to me.
I have at least a few bookmarks. I'll send you one after this.
Okay. I did enjoy that one you sent me of John Constantine meeting up with Skiz and Impulse. That was a pretty good one.
John Constantine.
The John Constantine of it all.
That's unrelated to superheroes, Chaos. Bonk you on the head. No. Moving on.
He's related.
He's related? No, shush. We're going to stick on topic if it kills us.
You killed my segue.
I did, because I want to talk about my favourite superhero AU in the Hermitcraft Life series thing. Warning, if you're going to read it, because I'm going to send it to you later, Chaos.
Okay.
And this is also because we'll probably link it.
Probably.
It is a heavy one. Like, several trigger warnings heavy one. but it depends on which section you read in the series, because I got a whole bunch of them, and it mostly is centralized around Scott's Major and Jimmy's Solidarity, but you also have people like Mythical Sausage, Gemini Tay, and like they don't always say the names of who it is, but they're talked about where it's like, oh, there's this superhero that grows plants and stuff. Shovel's the mayor of the town for some reason. Anyway.
The Shovel deserves to be the mayor of the town.
She does. And she also has to deal with all the superheroes.
God, that, like, their paperwork level must be insane. In, like, world of superheroes, like, oh, the collateral.
In this story, we have the different superpowers. Like, Scott has ice, which is a very common one because of
Empire Season 1.
Season 1. Yeah, that's Season 1, because he went on the Disney arc. Jimmy has chronic bad luck. And so the superheroes don't want him to be a superhero because he just brings bad luck wherever he is. The supervillains are like, don't hang around me.
You definitely have told me about this before. Like, the way you track where Jimmy has been is like, where's the crater today?
Yeah, no, exactly. His poor apartment before he gets his powers under control, which, spoiler, he kind of does, kind of complicated. His poor apartment, he lays down to go to bed and his mattress just falls to the floor.
That's so sad.
Just stupid things. He ends up living with, like, Scott for a portion of time. He lives with Lizzie for a portion of time. But there's a point where Scott gets hurt and is in the hospital and calls Jimmy. And he's just like, Jimmy! And you hear Joel in the background. No! Superhero identity. Stop saying people's real names.
Shut up.
Joel,
shut up.
I am in costume. Don't say my name.
Oh.
And so it is heavy, but it's very humorous to me. I enjoy superheroes. I enjoy people having shenanigans and superheroes and haha.
Haha funnies. We are going to have shipping be its own episode, but I do feel like it is important to bring up in terms of superhero AUs, just due to the dynamics you can get when you can ship a hero and a villain and there be angst, because then you get that weird, like, this secret identity is in love with the villain, but the villain's secret identity is in love with the hero. It's a very, what's the show? Ladybug. It's a very Ladybug.
Yeah. Gosh, that show.
Gosh.
My gosh. I watched it. I watched all of it and I regretted every second of it. The fandom, fine. Like, decent fandom. The show itself, I watched every episode and I hated it. And that's also superhero stuff and also contributes to things.
You can have a love octagonal with 2 people. 2!
Oh my gosh. It's awful. Fix it. Anyway, in this, that's actually that kind of thing to a different extent, but the supervillain and superhero liking each other does actually happen in that fic that I was talking about. Because Scott has Jimmy as his sworn enemy, because referencing empires again, because apparently it's more empires, but like also live series and Hermitcraft, it's a whole thing. Jimmy, using his accidental bad luck, killed the main superhero mentor of Scott, who was a beloved figure of the city.
Jimmy.
Just completely on accident. Completely on accident. It was, I don't know if I remember this correctly, but I think it was just like something just fell. Just bonked him on the head.
Oh God. There's this one Spider-Man comic where I don't even remember the context for it. Like, Spider-Man was just kind of doing his own thing, and then they needed to end the comic strip, and so they just have Spider-Man randomly get hit in the head with a brick that just like falls out of the building. It's completely disconnected with like the rest of the story, and I'm like, is that Jimmy? Is that Jimmy's power?
Yeah, canonically, he's in every single story ever, and is the reason that bricks fall the sky. You know, all of those old school style cartoons where bricks and anvils and pianos are falling from the roofs?
That's just Jimmy.
Yeah, that's Jimmy.
That's
That's
just Jimmy. Yeah, we brought this up before without like really completing the thought of like what makes Prime superhero AU bait. And it's again, it's the underdog, but it's someone who is young and struggling and is like has potential, but something is desperately holding them back. So, you know, Dream SMP, that's Tommy, and like everything about that story is like beating him down until he can rise up and do his own thing. I guess for like the new MCYT group that we're following, which is like Empires and Hermitcraft, it's Timmy. Timmy is the prime superhero bait.
Well, Timmy and Green. Yes.
Timmy and no, it's Timmy and Scar.
Scar took it into his own hands.
Scar took it in his own hands. If it wasn't for Scar, Green would still be getting the Pop Idol AU treatment.
God, when they do both at the same time, where it's Friday, I'm a pop.
I'm a pop star idol. We haven't talked about Poultry Man yet, I just realized, because that is Green taking it into his own hands, but we didn't see this.
That never.
Yeah, that never really sprung into the huge superhero AU that we see right now.
Well, I think I've seen it referenced, but not nearly as much as the other things.
It might just be because when it came out, the fan fiction trend of, you know, Hermitcraft fan fiction wasn't really a thing. Like, you can find fan fiction from 2020, 2021 era, but it didn't really kick off until 2022.
Okay, that was before then? Poultry Man was before 2020, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you don't find Hermitcraft fanfiction from before the pandemic. So I guess Poultry Man was just faded off into the distance until he has to show up and defeat Hot Guy.
He's just not a hero. He's just not a hero.
Yeah, well, Poultry Man retired. He ended his story arc until he had to come back and wreck Doc's perimeter, but then he went back to retirement.
He only comes out when it'll cause more mischief. Okay? That's his only purpose. Imagine, we should write a story where it's Green as a superhero, but every once in a while he gets bored and puts on the Poultry Man mask.
He is both a hero and a villain at the same time, and he has to fight himself, but it's just like Poultry Man putting a whole bunch of chickens everywhere. Oh no, cute guy has to show up and save the day. Something just fell in my house. I wonder what that was.
It was Jimmy.
It was Jimmy. It was Jimmy all along.
It was Timothy. Well. Anyway, I'm not allowed to make random musical references. I think that most of what modern day superhero AUs are actually based off of is more Peter Parker than it is any Clark Kent or Bruce Wayne.
100%. And again, that is largely because so much of like my childhood era and like the younger people, like that's when you started seeing Peter Parker consistently getting rebooted. You have those like 4 different origin stories for him. There's so many different TV shows for him, and it's all about either his origin or his first few years of being a Spider-Man. And so you get constantly a new flood of people coming in saying, this is how you become a superhero. And it's like Batman established, Superman established. Every other hero gets to be established. Spider-Man keeps getting reset.
I think it also has to do with he is an everyday man. Like, he feels a lot more connected to reality than any sort of Superman is, because it's not this almost godlike figure. This is a teenager, sometimes early 20s, who's just like so tired.
Spider-Man left like his high school era in the comics within like the first year of him being like in comic book issues, and yet that's what we keep going back to.
Yeah, that's weird to me, because you have to specify when you're talking about Spider-Man, if you're talking about the comic books or if you're talking about more or like the movies, because even in all of the different movies, almost all of them are teenagers, where when I think of Spider-Man in general, I think both a teenager, but I also think like college student who has had 5 cups of coffee and desperately trying to get by, and also the one paying rent and desperately needs to get by because no matter the version, they need more money.
Yeah, a core aspect of Spider-Man is broke and on his own. And thus we have Tommy in it and Jimmy Solidarity Gaming's in these AUs, specifying characters.
Nobody send this to the actual creator.
Nobody, they're fine. I promise you, they're fine.
The actual creators, they're fine.
Tommy Innit was this is so off topic. Tommy Innit was in an episode of Black Mirror, and he shows up, flies a spaceship for like approximately 2 seconds, and gets exploded.
Dang it! We should write some space AUs.
We should. I mean, come on, let's find some space AUs for these superhero AUs, and Tommy Innit gets to be exploded in a spaceship. Maybe, mayhaps.
I've seen it. You don't know if he was a superhero, more like just like a child on a spaceship, but
and
I've seen it.
He is there for emotional support.
The emotional support human.
All right, I think it's time to move on to the Q&A.
Okay, let's move on to the Q&A.
Question number 1 from that by Blob. First of all, yay, new artist to listen to. That was a comment left on the whole Gideon episode. But also, what is y'all's favorite trope in a Minecraft server? Not TV show, specifically a Minecraft server.
I find it... I don't know if this is my favorite, but narrowing down my favorite would be very difficult. I enjoy that they keep making people kings or queens or some sort of government party just to overthrow them. I find it a little bit funny. They keep making monarchies just to overthrow it later. Like, it happens in so many servers. Over and over again.
I mean, even right now, I'm playing, like... What is Hades? I guess he counts as a king. Sure, I'm technically a king.
Hades is king of the underworld.
Yeah, but there's no one there. So, king of an empty land. I mean, to be fair, that's a pretty good trope. I do enjoy that. I mean, just like in general, I do really enjoy the trope of like, this character has this huge backstory. Doesn't matter right now. I'm chilling over here, you know? Just like,
oh, that is fun.
It's just enough to give the fandom a seed of fan fiction. Like, go on, take this potential and run. But the character doesn't have to follow through with like being this insane, buff, impossible PvP person. Like someone who's not good at PvP can play that type of character.
I enjoy the characters that are like either immortal or reincarnated, and they just kind of like travel the lands, and I'm like, I'm here now.
I guess I'm here now.
What's going on? Let me write this down. They're just traveling about, but has been for centuries now, and will just, hey, there's a country here. Oh, I'm part of government again. Continues to do it for ages. That's always like a fun concept, but I don't know if that's always Minecraft specific, but I see it in Minecraft as a backstory semi-frequently. Not story-wise, I just like the people hanging out. That's just fun.
I just like people when they hang out together and have a good time, and I like SMPs.
Honest answer, that's going to be an overarching thing. One of my favourite things in stories is humour. I love angst, I love it, but you gotta balance it out with some humour. And so regardless of what kind, where it came from, regardless of the storyline, or what exactly it is, if it's funny, it's funny! Hello?
I'm trying desperately to find a question number 2 because I didn't write them down beforehand, and that's on me because I was watching anime.
You better keep that in. You better keep that sentence in.
I was watching... You know what? Here we go. Question number 2. What anime have you been watching recently?
I have not watched much Okay, honest answer. Not watched anime, except for ones without subtitles or dubbed over. Confused the whole time. Binge watched a few like that. Didn't understand it. Never went back.
So I do believe that might be a your fault situation, but Maybe
Hear me out.
not. See, my issue is, I was doing a thing with like a premiere of a Star Wars. Yeah, y'all know I work for a Star Wars group on occasion. I don't know Star Wars. I was just kind of there and letting things happen around me. And my friend was like, "I'm watching these animes. Finally caught up to One Piece." I'm like, "Oh, I've been meaning to get like a Crunchyroll, but I just don't really want to right now because I need this and that and the other thing and all the excuses, right?" And my friend's like,
Yeah.
"Here's my login."
Yeah.
So like,
I think I watched like a movie that was technically an anime once.
yeah.
It was like Wolf Children or something.
Oh, I've heard that's a pretty good one. But no, there's this anime that was like, one week I got super sick and I have Disney Plus, so I was like watching. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Here's the deal with Disney Plus, so they only have season 1 of anime. Like you never find a season 2 on Disney. And I finally logged into that Crunchyroll and I'm like, they have 3 seasons, a movie, and a whole like section of just filler episodes. The filler episodes, I've watched them, they're really bad. But the season 2 of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, it's holding my attention. It's a little cheesy and not super well written, but man, does it hold my attention.
I have an answer for your question, but you still won't like it.
Mm-hmm.
There's this one show that I've seen so many clips of that I really enjoy and is an anime, but I've never sat down and actually watched it. And I don't think I'll remember its name off the top of my head, but there's this pink-haired guy.
Does the pink-haired guy have psychic powers?
Yes, that guy.
Okay.
That guy.
Yeah, that's a.
I love him.
Pink-haired. How do you spell psychic? Psychic anime. That's not how you spell any of those words.
Like Psyche?
Yeah, Psyche is the name of the guy. The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. That, everyone's like, that's the one aromantic character in anime. Wrong. Lies. Monkey D. Luffy's aromantic. But that's a different conversation.
Fantastic. Well, I don't know any of these, but like, I do. I know them by proxy because all of my friends are nerds. So I know a lot about a lot of these animes. However, that guy's cool. I've seen several clips of that guy.
That guy gets the check mark. Okay. All right, I found a question for question number 3. We're good. What is your role on a pirate ship?
Well, I help man the ship. I'm not in a like high power level, but in a lot of the situations in real life that I find myself in, I find myself being like the secret right-hand man. So I don't know exactly what role I would play on the ship, but I'd be like, I am cleaning things, I am hauling rope around. Oh, you need my help with something? I enjoy helping where I can, and I enjoy keeping my hands busy, so regardless of what role on the ship you're doing, you're gonna keep your hands busy. But I'm not the navigator, I'm not the captain, I'm there and I'm helping, I'm a part of the crew.
See, I should not be allowed to be the navigator because my sense of direction is not ideal. I feel like I could probably make a pretty good cook. I have some very great soup recipes, and specifically soup recipes that can start off as stews and then you start watering them down to get more and more meals out of them. That will be my position.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the rules of a ship. I'm sorry.
So you can fix the ship, you can steer the ship, you can tell the ship where to go, you can make sure the ship doesn't explode, you can feed people, you can climb up the little ropey thingies and hope you don't fall off to your death.
That's your entire job, is climb up the ropey thing.
Well, you have to climb up the ropey thingies to get to the sails, and then you have to stand functionally like on the beam of the sails, or like on the beam that's like, I don't have a way to describe it, but like you have to untie the sails manually to get them to drop. And you have to do this. And then when there's a storm coming in and it's starting to rain, you have to climb up and then haul the sail up by hand and knot it up as it's starting to rain. And you're like maybe 100 feet up in the air and you're balancing on a very thin piece of wood.
Okay, so take away my IRL health issues. Let me do it. Let me at them. Take away my health issues and let me at them.
Yeah, I'll be the cook and you'll be up in the sky.
Yeah, let me in the sky.
Let me in
I
the
want to go in the sky. Not in a weird way, but like wings or something.
No, become a cloud. Goodbye, Andy.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of FanDive. We'll be back again next Monday diving into yet another fandom. Have a topic or question for the podcast? Head over to our website, fandive.tumblr.com. There you can also find any episode relevant images and general shenanigans that we get up to. It is Tumblr, after all. We're not afraid of being fans of things.